everyone, and thank you for joining me on Deciphering the Content. I have some information here, and I know that you're very much aware of the giant ship blocking the Suez Canal called the Evergreen. And, you know, a lot of people have been talking about this. Some of the information as to why it was blocking turned sideways and displaying the big letters of Evergreen. Now, there are people out there that are talking about children and you know, other cargo on there that is illegal. I don't have any proof of that, so I'm not going to say anything, but I wouldn't 100% be surprised. But without a little bit more facts, I'd like to hold off in making that as a statement of mine. But I do agree with everyone. It's very, very strange. And if there were children that were rescued, I would be very happy about that. But, you know, I'm going to, you know, let's sticking to that we know for sure. And so let's, ton. This is a 400-meter long Evergreen, a so-called mega ship operated by the Taiwan-based firm Evergreen, and became stuck near the southern end of the canal on Tuesday. It was just recently this weekend that it was shut down. It's the GAC, Dubai-based marine service company, said the Evergreen had been partially refloated and moved alongside the canal bank, citing information from the SCA. And so, well, I just thought it was very interesting. You know, we had a discussion with Peter regarding it, and that, you know, to me, this allows the entire world to gain attention, because this is a very, very critical canal that carries a lot of cargo in all different places of the world. The Evergreen Marine, as I said earlier, you can see here on Wikipedia that it is the principal trade routes are East Asia to North America, Central America and the Caribbean, East Asia to the Mediterranean and Northern Europe, Europe to East Coast of North America, East Asia to Australia, East Asia to Eastern and Southern Africa, East Asia to Southern America, in intra-Asia, serving linking ports in East Asia to Persian Gulf and the Red Sea, with over 150 container ships. It is part of the Evergreen Group conglomerate of transportation firms and associated companies. It has Evergreen calls on 240 ports worldwide and is in about 80 countries, and it is the 5th largest company of its type. Company activities include shipping, construction of containers and ships, management of ports, and engineering and real estate development. That's interesting. Subsidiaries and divisions include Uniglory Marine Corp, Evergreen UK Limited, and shipping company Italia Maritime. So, you know, it's like I said, it's a pretty worldwide statement of what had happened. Some other things that just stood out to me, and listening to different people provide information, it triggered the information regarding something called the Secret Service Code. And it's a Secret Service Code name. So, for example, you know, someone who's in office and their entire family is allocated a different code name, so they're not saying their name out loud, and it is provides clarity, brevity, and it's part of the tradition that they would, you know, routinely have this information. The Secret Service does not choose these names. However, the White House Communications Agency maintains a list that candidates choose from, often choosing ones that resonate with them personally. So people choose their own nickname or code name And you know, it's typically something in the native language, and you know, that they can say the name for security reasons very, very easily. So, for example, you know, they have a JFK up there in the front, and here is some of the names here. JFK was Lancer, Jacqueline Kennedy was Lace, and Carolyn was Lyric, JFK Jr. was Lark. So that's just some of the examples. And we can look down, and we have all of the presidents as Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, who he went by Rawhide, George H.W. Bush, Timberwolf, and let's see, we see Bill Clinton was Eagle, and this is interesting right here. Hillary Clinton was Evergreen. So that also stood out to a lot of people. And, you know, some of these corporations, they, you know, pretty much say, well, they're from Asia, but, you know, who actually owns them? We don't really know unless you do a tremendous amount of research or have someone on the inside and they kind of know where these things lead to. But this is part of what was referred to as a conspiracy theory, but in fact it is true. This was the code name for Hillary Clinton, and people questioned her involvement in much of this. There was also this incident of question. I saw a Green Army, and I started wondering about the Green Army and thinking that this had something to do with what's going on. I had a vision of it, and they were all lined up wearing this you know, particular green color. It wasn't camo. It was a solid green, and they actually looked like they were wearing wool suits, or you know, maybe it was from an earlier time, but which made me think of the Green Armies, and it happened right around the time of Evergreen. So the Green Armies were a semi-organized local militia that opposed the Bolsheviks, the whites, and the foreign interventionists. This is during the time of 1917 to 1922, and fought to protect their communities from the requisitions or the reprisals carried out by third parties. The Green Armies were politically and ideologically neutral, but at times associated with the Socialist Revolutionary Party, and the Green Armies had at least a tacit support throughout much of Russia. However, their primary base, the peasantry, were largely reluctant to wage an active campaign during the Russian Civil War, and eventually dissolved following the Bolsheviks. I don't know if this is exactly what I was looking at, but, you know, I like I said, Peter's talked about that because of timeline shifts, that we are still in sort of a Cold War incident. This is actually pre-Cold War, but an earlier time, and he did say something about we are going back in time, energetically or through timelines. And even though we're in a modern time, we're have this overlay of something going backwards. So in 1918, they were unified as one force, fighting as a subdivision of the Russian National Army. So how could that all come together? Yeah, it's very possible. I know one thing, it was unusual that I was seeing this. And so, you know, here they talk about the Red Army and so forth, but this was called the Green Army, or White Victory. Okay. And so it made me think that, you know, we're still in this little battle here, and it's a galactic battle. So I use Star Wars to indicate that this is, you know, a little bit more of the code. Remember, where everything isn't as it seems. There's other levels and layers of things going on around us, which also brought me to this as I was researching. I saw this 80 million Evergreen Crystal Palace for sale. Now, this is a home in Missouri, in a location called Table Rock Lake. And as you see, there's a lake right in front. It is very, very remote, surrounded by trees. A very unusual place, in my opinion, unless you really don't want the public to see what's going on. It has 5 levels, 25,000 square feet. and made with glass. And the architect was Dennis Spencer, and it was built by someone by the name of Robert Plaster, who was the founder and former chief executive officer of Empire Gas. He was a gas and propane company. And so this home was built in Missouri, and it is, it could maybe look like a ship, in a way. Kind of long. It is interesting the way it was built. It could have been built like a house, but it wasn't. So, it's probably the most costliest house in the area. And imagine you're there. And it wouldn't be that easy to get out. Or would it? I don't see much of a civilization. It almost looks like it's surrounded by water. So it caught my eye. I thought I'd kind of look into this a little further. And so this is a video that I got from Big Banks, and he's going to tell a little bit about the Evergreen Crystal Palace.
Big Banks, we're back again for another video. Today, I don't even have words for this place. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it before we actually get into the video. This place is called the Evergreen Crystal Palace. It is huge, 30,000 square feet, 20 plus car garage, 11 bedrooms, and it's $80 million. We actually got permission to come out here. This place is like a fortress, so I don't recommend anybody trying to come out here. We're shooting a real estate video for it, and they were nice enough and kind enough to let us film a YouTube video about it.
Okay, so that's pretty much the beginning of when he talks about the palace, and I'm going to just go to certain points here, obviously, because I don't want to just play everything. And I'm going to go to, let's see, we're going to move forward. And okay.
So the door itself, bulletproof door. The glass is super thick right here. And then you have a freaking shooting range with the evergreen in the floor. That is insane, dude.
Yeah, this is a panic room. This doubles as a panic room because feel this. This is all bulletproof. Even says bulletproof on the glass here.
Seriously? Oh shoot, it does. Dude, that's insane.
So this is where he'd probably lock himself up if he had any kind of threat going on.
You ever seen any house with something like this?
No.
Or heard of anything like this?
No. Some people have basketball courts. In Missouri, you have gun range.
Yeah. Then it has charts of all the guns, Smith & Wesson, Ruger. It's so crazy.
Okay, so you can see that, they had some things going on here, and not only did they created a bulletproof door, it was definitely enhanced in some ways to make sure that there was a place that they called it a panic room, that they could protect themselves in the event of something, which, makes you wonder what's going on. And here you go.
This green marble is from China, by the way. And then
he said the green marble is from China. It's all over the facility. I mean, it's just covered with this green marble everywhere. And I've seen it before, I don't know if there's a lot of it, but I just thought it was interesting that that's what they used. So here's a time capsule that they have. Let's go back up.
And there's another one.
So I just want you to see like the date here that they have.
It's a time capsule. to be opened in 2042.
It's an interesting date.
And there's another one over here. Now this one's to be opened in 2092.
50 years difference. So I'm not really sure what that is about, but I thought, you know, like I said, this place is very, very interesting. There's a lot going on. And it reminded me of Peter's description of the Shaw House. And these are the type of places that could very likely be used. And the place that is being used to for my labs for many people. Many, many, many people. You notice this, I mean, it has to be familiar. This is a Venetian mask, usually used by the Illuminati, eyes wide shut scenarios, you know, Venice, and also probably Mardi Gras, but it's secret societies and so forth. And go over to the next one. Here's a room that's called Chinatown.
We got Chinatown. So you come in here and it's straight up. This is incredible. I don't even know how to explain this. That is amazing. So much money worth of stuff here. Like, I can only imagine how much this stuff is worth. Then we got China books. We got China statues.
So
This room is just...
the rooms say they have names for them, and particularly the bedrooms, which I thought was weird. It has a little bit of a theme. I guess it's not that strange in a house this big, you know, and they want to be creative. But, you know, the type of things that I've seen in my labs can replicate, you know, that you think that you're in a certain space or a country. There's a description, there's a theme, usually. It's not always just beds. The towels all have the Evergreen symbols on it. And then in 15, there's, you know, they don't call it the green room, but you can see it's got everything's green there.
Then we have this room, which is very beautiful in itself, with the green colors and just the accents everywhere.
Okay. Then there's another room. And we're going to go through a few of these different rooms because I just think it's interesting, and it reflects a lot of the things that we've been seeing, and what, you know, a lot of people that have been seeing in their third eye. I don't quite have that one. 15. Okay. This is actually the presidential room, so I went a little further in. That needs to be probably... Okay. We'll start here and just let it run.
Sitting here on the bed.
There it is.
Presidential.
A lot of the rooms have pianos. And notice the deer in the corner. He's going to be coming up to that. These are also symbols of, you know, the Illuminati, Delphi, Delphi House, the deer,
This is
even in the most recent
the
movie
most
of Cicada.
outrageous, crazy,
You see in the most,
incredible mansion
we'll see
that
if
we
he
have
brings
ever
it
been
back.
to.
Even the movie in Cicada, they have people wearing masks with deer heads. It's very common with some of the Illuminati information. And let's see. And just moving up.
I
Okay.
think this was just a presidential suite.
It's one of the bathrooms.
Wow. See, and then we come down the hallway a little bit, and we have,
There's a ram
they call
room.
this the Ram Room.
Here again, you know, it starts to feel a little bit like, it's not quite Baphomet, but definitely has that type of entity related to the space.
You're about to find out why. Ram statues. These rams in every detail of this room. That's why I call this the Ram Room.
So, you know, like I said, the rams, that's, you know, something that's used very often. You know, you have those type of, you know, like the hybrid creatures and all that. And, you know, it's interesting because these things are standing out to him as well. He's looking at the theme, he's seeing how the things are put together. And I think that this information does go into the subconscious. I think a lot of us have been so exposed to it that when we see it, it just draws us in, not because it's good, but because we've become familiar with it. And yet, this is all evergreen. And keep in mind that we're staying with the theme of evergreen. And I'm going to bring you up to the next spot. So we're going to go up to right about here.
Which is full of these statues.
A lot of Native American stuff.
Just so cool.
And I thought that was, you know, just war paint, or I don't know. I keep on thinking of Tears, Trail of Tears or something too. And this walkway that he has, it does talk about later that Mr. Plaster went and was around some of the Native people. And what he was doing there, I don't really know whether he's curious or not, or whether this is an extension of some of the MyLabs, and he was obviously used in that way. You can see by some of the things that are here. But like I said, whether he was actually physically doing it in his household, I just feel like the energy is very strong. And I want to specify, I'm not saying that he actually did it in his physical home, but that the energy was there. And the house looks familiar to me, and it shouldn't look familiar to me.
And then this is an office with some cheetah.
Here's some of the cat stuff that we were seeing. The Covaderos that Peter was talking about, the pumas, and some of this, you know, jumps from one theme to another. And of course, this is not a theme park. This is, you know, something else that's going on. I also want to bring in that the Wild West and Westworld, AI, the TV show, you know, the whole thing that, you know, we start to recognize as like a type of form of AI too that's coming up.
Print seats.
It's a puma.
Like a leopard statue.
So like I said, we did a
Wow.
lot of information on the cats.
Like, I'm speechless. I'm absolutely speechless.
It goes into, here's the
Alright,
Wild
so
West
we're
room
on
I
the
was
side of
talking
the
about
house now.
earlier.
And this is the Wild West room. Incredible bed. Such a cozy feeling in here. All this stuff from like Indians, cowboys, stuff like that. Bow and arrows with actual arrowheads on the end of them. So it's just such an amazing property. Here's a whip. And then here is the arrows. You can see the arrowheads right there.
Now that was kind of strange that they have a whip there, but and real arrows. But you know, I mean, you are kind of surrounded by trees and everything, and he does like this native theme, but I still feel that there's something else that's not right here. And like I said, it reminded me of AI, or the Wild West reminded me of Westworld, and in some of the my labs that I've seen, and of course the whips and the torture and all that type of stuff that I've seen as well. Just very strange to me.
And then again, you get a beautiful view, a little place to sit and dine if you want. I'm in love with this property. This is my absolute favorite explore.
And I'm sure a lot of people would just be overwhelmed and think how beautiful it is. And, you know, some of these places they're really amazing. And my recollection of Shaw House is that it is a room after room after room of different types of images, themes, and people, all different types of people. Obviously, that's void of people here. But imagine all these rooms filled with people. And so there's connecting rooms, and you don't really see the outside. I don't recall in the my labs that you see the big windows in the front, and that's the only part. But we'll just keep listening. We're almost finished.
Of all time. This leads into this room, which is called Iris.
This is called the Iris room, and it's a child's room.
Which would be another little kid's room. With the double twins. Little bunny statue for this table.
There's when we talked about Alice, here's another AI theme. Alice being another form of AI that we're dealing with in our reality, our context of existence. And there's the rabbit.
Little seat to do your hair, makeup, whatever. And then obviously another bathroom.
And there's the irises there.
So for this room, we got city lights. And this room is probably one of my favorites. It's got this.
There's the chessboard that we see often with the Illuminati, and you know, all the little pieces here and there. There's actually also a statue in the main entry area with a chandelier above it, and the statue is of a little girl, which I thought was interesting. I'm not sure. I didn't look at how many children he had, but it did seem a little odd. There's one child's room that they showed. I don't know, maybe there's more, but I thought that was also interesting.
Big bed right here. Incredible bed. Got a gold and silver chess, statues, beautiful furniture.
It's a dancing
beautiful
girl.
View. This place is amazing. Absolutely incredible. We've got another bedroom that leads into that has full of horses.
Okay, I want you to take a look at the horses here that this the 4 horses, like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And there are 2 tables like this in this room.
Like, that's just horse statues holding up the table.
And it looks like the 2 heads on one
This one's
horse.
obviously horse themed.
And here's the other one.
This is an incredible place. And then from here you can see the pool.
Okay, so and we can stop right there. Just taking a look at that. So that's a little bit about the house, and here's the gentleman that owned that property. His name was Plaster, and Robert Plaster was born in September 3rd, 1930, and talks about his life, losing his child. He didn't come from money, it sounds like. He built the Empire Gas Company into one of the nation's largest propane distributor. 1970, the U.S. Justice Department accused Empire of using predatory practices, threatening competitors, price fixing to acquire monopoly control of the propane market. After a long legal battle, Empire was acquitted of antitrust violations. In another case in the early 70s, the Justice Department accused Plaster, Empire Gas, and another man of hiring 2 men who used a 10-stick dynamite bomb to blow up a competitor's tank truck. Plaster and the other men were found not guilty. After a 3-week trial, Plaster was represented by a well-known attorney, F. Lee Bailey. And F. Lee, if people remember, F. Lee Bailey usually won. They go on to talk a little bit about some of the background here, and clearly there's some ethics issues here, but usually covered well with donations and all that. But here's some of the problems. Let's see. Let's get back to that. He had some problems with zoning and all that, but there was here we go. 2005, Robert Plaster was called to testify in a federal mail fraud and money laundering trial against Access Financial Group, headed by Jan Marcuse. Marcuse and others were under indictment by the federal government based on accusations of a Ponzi scheme that allegedly offered high return rates, as well as a movement of money to Nigeria and the bank in Bahamas, and then back again into the U.S. to avoid taxes. Michael Carney had become involved with Marcuse, and Plaster was paid $1 million as a deposit of the Stone County land Carney was trying to buy for development. And here is it's the Chippewa tribe that he spent time with in Lake Superior. Anyhow, so here again, this is Evergreen, another part of Evergreen. And it just made me think about, all of the other things that are potentially connected to this, like kind of like the Green Army. I also thought of Dr. Green. How could I not think about it? We got something going on here that's forever green. And, this is mind control and the whole network of what's going on, what had happened, and with some of these MyLabs, which, made me feel that house, the Crystal Palace, was, related to MyLabs. Or, he was inspired to build this to maybe, they said I read somewhere that someone in his family thought that was unusual for him to make something kind of grandiose like this, that it wasn't his style. But I definitely think by looking at it that he was inspired to do so by some group. And, whether his exposure to some of these different Illuminati things and agreements and deals and so forth. And it usually comes out, doesn't it? Kind of they reveal what their involvement is. The last thing, I just want to remind everyone that everything that we're dealing with is from the dimensional space, and whatever is above and so below. Yeah, that's true, but also, what is happening galactically is reflecting on our world today. And so I couldn't help but think about the Green Lantern. And, you know, the story here is about this parallax that comes in and creates problems. And to be honest with you, it does feel like a parallax. You know, it does feel like there's, you know, a problem in our reality. And that, you know, we've been intruded upon. Everything seems a bit surreal. And, you know, that maybe we need some help from somewhere to shift and change all of these things that are happening. They talk about green arrows. There's arrows as well as what we saw. There's a lot here. It's just something to think about, but maybe there's some other connections as we're deciphering the code. Don't forget to put in your comments and share your ideas. And thank you for listening. Have a good day.